really, really good hat-trick. And I think it was a kind of performance that said to Michael Carrick and to the other coaches, look, I'm here, I'm a good option, I'm ready to contribute for the first team, and I'm clearly too good for this level of football.
Jay here for Stretford Paddock. That is Finn, otherwise known as Academy Scoop, which means this is Academy Review. Finn, talk to me, right? Because I don't know what's going on with Manchester United at the minute.
It's weird.
Like, everything seems to be all right.
This is another episode of Academy Review where I'm not just here to cheer you up.
Yeah, because usually you come in, United have drawn with Wolves or lost at home to Everton or whatever, and I'm like, oh, Finn, it's rubbish. And you'll come in and say, don't worry, Shea Lacey scored 8 goals and you know, JJ Gabriel's the best player in the history of football. Mm-hmm. It's all fine.
Which is true.
Yeah, both those things are kind of accurate. But now it feels like I'm quite positive, United doing well, and you're coming in and you've pretty much remained positive because you're covering the academy team, which is kind of a good thing for Manchester United and tends to get good results. Has that been the case this past week?
It has indeed.
Oh, that's what I'd love to hear.
Not just that, we've got a lot of January kind of transfer and loan news to get through, but it has certainly been more positivity. Shea Lacey on the score sheet again with a hat-trick.
My favourite scout.
JJ Gabriel in first team training and a few others, so definitely a lot of positivity to talk about.
It's all happening. So where do you want to start, my friend?
We'll start with the under-21s, and one of the big stories before this game was that Adam Lawrence has made a return to Manchester United.
So you were a bit disappointed when he left, weren't you? Because he had a good reputation, had done well at the club. He made that classic schoolboy error of go to Newcastle. Yeah. And then he's realised the error of his ways, said, what am I doing here? I need to get back to Manchester United. Yeah,
so for whatever reason, Newcastle wasn't the right fit for him.
Such a diplomat, anything. He's not biting. Go on, son.
And I'm just glad to see him back at United. He's coming in a new role. So previously, he was the under-18 head coach. Right. Had a huge amount of success from 2023 to 2025 while he was in charge of that team. Won the under-18 North League, the playoff final that season, and the under-18 Premier League Cup. Really got a tune out of all of the players. Seems like a great leader, great communicator, and very, very highly rated internally. And now he's coming in as the under-21s boss. Travis Binion, who was previously in charge of the 21s, has stayed with the first team coaching staff. He was there for Fletcher's little interim bout, and now he's going to stay on with Michael Carrick's staff. So Adam Lawrence comes in and fills that gap. I think that's really positive to see him back at the club, because I think he's a coach with a big future in the game, a great character that's really well liked both by players and staff at the club. So he took charge of his first game, Manchester United versus West Bromwich Albion under-21s in the PL2.
Feels like a classic 80s fixture, that.
Yes.
United versus West Bromwich.
Traditional.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? I'm thinking like, Laurie Cunningham and Remy Moses and all that lot. Sorry, carry on.
No,
I digress.
Right. Going into the game, United top of the PL2, having a really good season for the under-21s. A couple of points ahead of Chelsea, also with a game in hand. So really strong position to be going into. And unfortunately, this game wasn't broadcast on MUTV. Many such cases, which we've spoken about how frustrating that is.
I like the people that work at MUTV, right? I'm not having a dig at them because they're doing the best they can. But when are Manchester United going to fix up and actually bother with that channel and make it as good as it can be? Yeah. Because it feels far too often that me and you have the same discussion. You used to be able to get so many games on MUTV. It's never been like utterly amazing and groundbreaking because there's obviously limitations of what they can do, and they are literally the official channel of the club, so they can't go out and say, Carrick's an idiot, don't know what he's doing, or that was a rubbish performance or whatever. They've got to be careful, but they've got so much access and better things they can do, and they just don't seem to utilise it anymore. Yeah, well, it's really weird because a lot of these games they film and record the whole game because they post highlights afterwards, they post the goals sometimes. So and maybe it's that they think that the commentary is absolutely vital and that fans won't watch without the commentary, but I know there's a lot of fans, myself included, who would happily watch the games without commentary if it was just the camera angle, just an automated camera, just so that there's some way of keeping in touch with what the teams are doing as it happens, and being able to see a whole game, because it's good to see the highlights, but it doesn't tell the whole picture. And especially with academy football, if you're looking to keep tabs on the progress of young players, being able to see those whole performances, spot the finer details throughout a 90 minutes, I think that's really important. There are clubs in the Premier League, Spurs I think and City, who even when there's an under-18 and an under-21 game overlapping, still stream both games at the same time and have both available to watch. So
yeah, it would be really good if in the future we see a little bit more investment in this area and improve that coverage, because it is frustrating when you can't see these games live. That being said, we did get the clips of the goals afterwards. It was a 5-1 victory, a resounding win.
Drubbing.
Yeah, for Adam Lawrence in his first game back in charge. The Reds did go down a goal early.
Jesus wept. Actually, this reminds me of United of old, this.
I know.
Do you know what I mean? We go a goal behind and then batter the team we were playing.
Just nothing but domination from that point onwards. It was a Shea Lacey hat-trick, and I think it was a bit of a statement performance from him. The first goal, good finish at the back post. Top pass from Jack Fletcher, really, really simple tap in, but good positioning, good run. Second one was a penalty, brought down in the box, really, really calmly taken, just rolled it into the bottom corner. And then the third goal had a little bit of luck from a goalkeeper mistake, but it was still a good solo effort from outside of the box, curling in from the right wing. And yeah, really, really good hat-trick. And I think it was a kind of performance that said to Michael Carrick and to the other coaches, look, I'm here, I'm a good option, I'm ready to contribute for the first team, and I'm clearly too good for this level of football. So I think that's what it said.
It's good, because I feel a bit sorry for Shea Lacey, because I do worry sometimes about how we handle these youngsters. And he was in a weird position where he sort of, just as Ruben Amorim was unravelling, Shea Lacey was a name, everyone was like, get him in the team, he's almost our saviour. Then he gets the opportunities under Darren Fletcher. He's very unlucky against Burnley, does really well and could have had an amazing winning goal.
Almost two fantastic goals could have been.
Honestly, it could have been one of those sort of performances, like Wayne Rooney for Everton against Arsenal, everyone's going, he's announced himself.
And that can start a career, moments like that.
Of course it can. Then he has the Brighton game where, again, he comes on, everyone's looking at him, is he going to be the guy that's going to sort of keep us in the FA Cup, and gets the red card. And the first one for me wasn't a yellow, the second one is just, we'll put it down to sort of immaturity from a youngster who doesn't really know much better. So he's been a bit unlucky, really. And I just hope that he isn't judged sort of too harsh either way, and he gets a fair crack of it, because he's such a talent. You've sat here, and what I like about you, Finn, is you praise a lot of the players, but there's different levels, and you'll say certain players who you think are a cut above maybe the teammates, and he's one you've always gone on about, and you've always said if it wasn't for injuries when he was younger, I think we'd have seen even more startling progression, because obviously progressed very well, but even more so. So he's such an exciting player, and I say this about one or two other players in the first team, but when you talk about a Manchester United player, that's what I think of. Someone like that.
I think his story growing up as a Scouser in a family full of devout Liverpool fans,
love that. Constantly
with them in his ear saying, switch to Liverpool. You want to support Liverpool, join the club and everything like that. He said, no, I'm a Red. I'm a United fan through and through. He's been at the club since he was 7. He's a proper United fan, and I think he does kind of epitomise everything that you expect from a United player. And I think even in that performance against Brighton when he got the red card, I'd say when he came on, he was one of the brightest players on the pitch.
He was.
Showed
100%.
glimpses of really trying to make something happen when the rest of the performances across the board from United were not at the level required, both in terms of quality and the kind of attitude and body language shown. I think he really showed something. And I think fortunately enough, a lot of United fans have given him a lot of grace for that, understood that it was in the heat of the moment, a little mistake, that these things happen, and I think he's still got the full backing of the whole United fan base and still has a really, really bright career ahead of him. And I think even for the remainder of this season, I think there will be opportunities. Carrick certainly rates him very highly, and the other coaches and the higher up figures at United rate him as a really, really big prospect. And you never know what happens. There could be injuries, there could be opportunities that come about, and he could still have an impact. So really, really hopeful that he can kick on. And this kind of performance against West Brom kind of sends that message saying, look, I'm ready. I'm right there, and I can really contribute.
I'm hoping that United are in a situation between now and the end of the season where we can bring him on in a game where, for the first team, obviously, we've got a bit of a cushion, we've got a bit of a lead. You can say to him, there's no pressure here, go on and enjoy yourself, show us what you're about. A little bit more than that than, go out and get us the winner or keep us in the only cup competition we're still in. None of that kind of pressure, just a little bit more sort of an easier one. Like we used to see under Fergie. obviously you'll remember you're too young, but Fergie still all the time. You get kids that come on and not all the time. Sometimes like Kiko McKay came on and kept us in a title race, but there'd be times when United would be like 2-3-0 up and Fergie would bring on some youngsters and give them an opportunity, and they'd shine because it was easier. Feels like far removed from that nowadays, but it'd be good to see that happen with Shea Lacey, and who knows? Yeah, certainly United have got more options now because with Mbeumo and Ahmad back from the AFCON, which I think we didn't have at the time. He was getting more minutes. That's a massive bonus for Michael Carrick, but there's still space for Shea Lacey to make some games, get some games.
Yeah, I really hope so. I think that could happen. Fingers crossed.
So to round it off, what was it? With last, I think 2 more goals from United.
Yeah. United capped off the dominant performance with another 2 goals. First one was an own goal off a corner, bit of a messy, chaotic one, but
bit of an Arsenal type goal.
Yeah,
that's what they do, innit?
They're fine. They would have been proud of that goal, I reckon. Yeah. But yeah, we take those. And then Louis Bradbury, young Welsh striker off the bench, usually plays for the under-18s, but really good to see him involved. Capped the game off with the 5th goal. Again, close range tap in, but good to see those kind of instincts in and around the box to get a bit of a poacher's goal. And yeah, United finished that with a 2-point buffer and a game in hand above Chelsea in second. So still continuing on really fantastic form in the PL2, and the title looks on.
Hey, tell you what, Adam Lawrence working his magic already.
Exactly.
Great to see that. Great to see Shea Lacey doing well. Good to see Louis Bradbury getting a goal too. One to keep an eye on there, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Always been really highly rated.
Yeah.
Scored something like 40 goals in his last season for the under-16s last year. So definitely one to keep an eye on.
It's mad that anyway you say that, 40 goals.
Yeah.
Think about the talented youngsters you played against as well. That is a ridiculous record. Absolutely. Let's talk about these loanees then, because it's been a bit of a mixed bag on it. Some of the loanees already going through a little bit of a struggle through no fault of their own. So who do you want to start with?
Yeah, we'll talk about Harry Amass. We'll start with him. Been a bit of unfortunate news come out. I was
gutted about this.
Yeah, really unfortunate, because he's had such a good first half of the season at Sheffield Wednesday. Instantly become a fan favourite in this first half of the season. He won their November and December Player of the Month awards, which are fan voted. And yeah, just had a really, really good start in a very difficult environment. Sheffield Wednesday have had so many problems on and off the pitch. They're bottom of the Championship, so it's been difficult, but he's really, really made a good account of himself and progressed well as a player. And yeah, so he's been recalled and moved to Norwich, who sit slightly higher in the Championship. I think they might be 19th at the time of recording. Unfortunately, he suffered a hamstring injury in training and reportedly looks to be sidelined for a lengthy period, it's been described as.
Jesus wept. Poor lad. I mean, I feel sorry for Harry Amass, Right, first of all, he goes on loan to Sheffield Wednesday, does really well, and then he has Ruben Amorim almost calling him out, like he's done something wrong. You're like, what's all that about? Even last season, I thought he was a bit unlucky because he had some good games. He had games where he maybe struggled a little bit, and then people being a little bit too judgmental, a bit quick to judge a young player who's still obviously learning his trade. Goes to, obviously does well at Sheffield Wednesday, gets this, nobody gets it, but he moves to Norwich and then almost immediately gets injured.
It's really, really tough luck and bad timing for him, because I'm sure he looked forward to kicking on and was one of the players that I think, not saying this can't happen now, but definitely one of the players that would be considered to be integrated in the first team come the summer. Hopefully that's still possible for him and he does kick on towards the end of the season if he's able to make a return to the pitch. But yeah, really, really, unfortunate, unlucky timing for him.
I hate as well, right, that football in sort of certainly the Premier League, maybe even across the board, it tends to be this whole thing about physicality.
Yeah.
You've got to be quick, you've got to be strong. I used to hear this garbage about Kobe Mainoo, about he's not quick enough, he's not strong enough. Have you ever watched him play football? He's fucking mint. What you on about?
Kobe's such a good example of the fact that understanding a situation, being able to process what's happening around you in real time will always outweigh any physical advantages or disadvantages. And then that being said, he's physically, he's not very athletic in terms of the bursts and the pace and the sprint speed, but he's extremely physical in terms of how he uses his body. Was it Alex Iwobi posted something on social media saying, about how strong he is. He messed up his hand when they had a little duel.
He's squashing his hand. That's a bit of a random one, but yeah, I think Harry Amass suffered a little bit from that, because him feeling like he's not tall enough, he's not quick enough, he's not strong enough. I get there's a relevance. I get you have to be a certain, you can't just be dead slow and dead weak and dead small and play against big Premier League attackers. But in terms of his quality, it's there, and I think it's sort of, it was overstated a little bit, and also he's still young. He's still a teenager, and people sort of going, "Oh, he's not quick, he's not strong enough. Actually, he won't make it in United team." Well, he might do. He's absolutely smashing it in the Championship. There's every reason to think this guy can kick on and play for Manchester United's first team one day. The disappointing thing is just this obsession we all seem to have with the physicality of a player.
Well, I think some people don't quite realise the level of football that the Championship is. I think if you can make a good account of yourself in your first season as a teenager playing in the Championship, becoming a fan favourite, without debate, one of the best fullbacks in the Championship so far this season, I think you've absolutely got a future at a top Premier League club. And he shows, on many occasions that the physicality doesn't really matter. And also he does have physicality. So
it's overstated, isn't it? Like he's some sort of 4'1" weakling or something.
Yeah, no, not at all.
So I hope he makes a speedy recovery. I like Harry Amass. We've spoken to him on the channel as well. He's a good lad. I'm not saying that because he spoke to us, but he is a good lad. He's very sort of mature in his attitude as well. And I remember when we were speaking to him, and he was self-critical at points as well. He's not someone who just has an ego and thinks I'm the big I am. Works hard to get where he's got, and I hope he recovers quickly. And we see him back in the United squad for pre-season. Who else do you want to talk about?
Yeah, we'll talk about Jacob Devaney. Yeah. So he's had his first United loan out to St Mirren in the Scottish First Division. He's had a really good season so far for the under-21s, captain of the 21s, and also played for Ireland's under-21s a few times. A really, really good combination of defensive grit. He's got that quality on the ball, a bit of a destroyer in the midfield, can sit back but can also play kind of box to box. And I think he's one of the most improved players over the past few seasons. That application and work ethic has always been there, but I think he's come on leaps and bounds on the ball and has now leapfrogged a few midfielders who maybe previously were viewed as being ahead of him, but he's really developing into a top midfielder. And he made his debut already for St Mirren against Hearts, played 70 minutes, got absolutely rave reviews for his performance, and it looks like that will be an interesting place for him to be for the next 6 months, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he develops.
It's always a big gamble when you go to Scotland.
Yeah.
It isn't it? Because I feel like you can go to the Championship or maybe in League One, and if it doesn't quite work out, people will forgive that. I think in Scotland you've really got to do something there. Yeah. Because if you go up there and it doesn't work out, people go, well, he ain't good enough.
You look back at Ahmad's loan for Rangers.
I mean, it's so ridiculous because Ahmad, who both of us on this table absolutely adore, and he's one of our best players. He went to Rangers, and when they were in was it the conference final or the Europa League final? I was getting mixed up. I don't think he got off the bench. You know what I mean?
I think he might have scored in his first game or first minute,
wasn't it? Yeah.
And then he couldn't hit the ground running. He couldn't get enough minutes, and it was a bit of a bizarre situation.
Sort of dismiss you. Yeah. I know he's the exception to the rule because he had another loan spell at Sunderland and did really well, and sort of did well despite the manager not rating him at Manchester United. Whereas too often, if it doesn't quite work out for you in Scotland, people are going, is he that guy? I'm not saying that'll happen with Jacob Devaney. I just it is a risky one, but you've got to back yourself, and I'm confident he can make it work. And from what you're saying, early doors doing well.
Yeah, definitely. Next one, a lot of the loanees are continuing on their loan for the rest of the season. One of those is Ethan Ennis at Fleetwood Town. He's done really well so far, 5 goals and 3 assists. I think 2 goals and an assist coming in the FA Cup. The others obviously in League 2. So he's had a really good season. He's developing into a really good winger. He's got that kind of two-way dribbling threat, unpredictability in those 1v1 situations, top finisher. He's got the creativity. I think he's a really complete winger, and one that's maybe going under the radar a little bit. So really enjoyed watching him, and hopefully he can continue to kick on.
Keep an eye on him. Before we get on to Enzo Canabic, what happened with Gabriel Biancheri? Did he get his move?
Yeah, he did. So Gabriel Biancheri has gone off to Rotherham United.
Sorry, I just thought that because I was talking about him in news the other day that I saw that was on the horizon on deadline day.
No, absolutely. So there was an offer made. It was Real Betis, wasn't it?
Right.
That came in to potentially buy Gabriel Biancheri on a permanent deal. United said no, we want to keep hold of him, and then this loan was arranged to Rotherham. So it's his first loan away from the club since joining from Cardiff in 2023. He joins his teammate Dan Gore Gore, who's already been at Rotherham for the first half of the season, and he's another player that's developed really, really well since joining the club, and in the past few seasons has made leaps and bounds in terms of his kind of technical ability, his centre forward play. I've always compared him in terms of his style to someone like an Aguero in terms of that kind of diminutive but explosive and combative striker who can really, make things happen in the box. He's got those poacher instincts, but also so much quality on the ball. So
probably a bit better than Aguero, to be fair.
Yeah. Well, it goes without saying, doesn't it?
I don't see Gabriel Biancheri playing for a team that's facing 115 charges.
Yeah,
I'll just say that.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. But it'll be interesting because it's like I said, his first loan away from the club, so always intriguing to see how players make that transition to a different environment. A lot of these under-21 players have basically experienced nothing but domination and success for United, both in the under-18s and under-21s. So then to go to a side who aren't necessarily as consistently dominant and don't necessarily play the same quality of football can be quite the change. So it's definitely a good challenge, and the same applies to Biancheri.
Who else? 100%. Who else do you want to talk about?
So we got two players at Lausanne. Enzo Cannabéic, young French striker who we signed last summer. He's continuing on his loan. He's done okay so far. He's only scored the one goal so far this campaign, but I think he's also had a couple of injury problems. But I know he's highly rated. I think Lausanne fans are, big fans of him in terms of what he seems to offer outside of the goal scoring. And he's also joined now by Sekou Kone. There's been a lot of talk about him and where he's going to end up for the remainder of the season. He's someone who, for me, I would have considered keeping around. I think, given the lack of options in the pivot, with Ugarte being the next line of defence if Kobbie Mainoo and Casemiro get injured, I think he's someone who certainly United could have benefited from. He's that type of profile who can play in the pivot. He's got the defensive side of his game, that mobility, ability to cover ground, the defensive understanding in terms of reading the game, but also so much quality on the ball, playing it through the lines, also the expansive kind of switches of play and the ability to ball carry. He can kind of do the lot. So I would have liked to see him stick around, but I also think he'll benefit from this loan. He's going to be playing alongside Cannabéic in the Swiss league. Apparently he's already made a significant impression in first team training. He's been with Lausanne's first team training camp over the winter period while his deal's being agreed. So I guess that's the positive of them being Ineos owned, that you have that kind of cooperation from a multi-club relationship. Really, really interesting. He's going to be one that I'll definitely keep a very close eye on because he's really exciting to watch, and we'll see how he does.
Well, I like Sekou Kone from what I've seen of him, and you obviously have been waxing lyrical about him for some time, and I'm just mindful of the fact that I know it's not the case for you because you actually watch him quite a lot and know what you're on about, but some people are so desperate to see Manuel Ugarte nowhere near the first team that I think you could put Aruna Kone in there and they'd be like, put him in. Like, they just don't want to see Ugarte near the first team. So I'm conscious of that, but from what you say, this is a player who's got a very, very good future ahead of him. Yeah,
definitely. Really, really big fan of Sekou Kone. Got just a few more to talk about. Dan Gore, we've already mentioned at Rotherham, going to be playing alongside Biancheri. He's had a good season so far in League One.
What do you make of Dan Gore, Finn? Because I like Dan Gore. I think he's a good player. I don't know. What do you think is going to happen with him? Do you think he can come back to United and make a case for the first team? Because he's not past it. He's only 21.
Yeah.
I feel like we're at the sort of crossroads now with Dan Gore where it's either going to be time to move on permanently or get that chance in the first team. It's going to one or the other.
Yeah, look, anything can happen, and there are certainly cases where a late bloomer will come through and won't necessarily break through in the same way. So he played alongside Kobbie Mainoo in the FA Youth Cup, and at the time, obviously Kobbie was a clear standout, but Gore was also one of the really highly rated players of that group, and he wasn't able to kick on the same way. He's another player that struggled with a fair few injuries.
So unlucky.
I don't think at the moment it seems like there's a real clear pathway and future for him in the first team at United. Obviously I wish that there was, and that he would have that future because he's got such a good character. He's been at the club for years, and he's the type of midfielder in terms of his quality on the ball and his kind of style of play that I really would enjoy to see playing for United. But it's looking like it's going to be difficult for him to make that happen.
And I'm not trying to, say, we need to, get rid of anything like that. I'm just conscious of the fact we've been here before. Yeah. It is difficult. You expect United to invest heavily in that position in the summer. I mean, it's going to be tough for him to get into that first team or in around the first team. And I just wonder, is this going to get to the point where him, for his own development, is going to have to make a decision? I don't know. I mean, I might be completely wrong. They might send him out on loan again, or it might be another couple of years or whatever, and then he comes into the first team, and I hope he does one day. I just think that when you get to that age and you've had a couple of loan moves, and you're in a position where we have actually got options and are looking to strengthen, then I don't know. I mean, might work out well for him. Might not get the targets we want in the summer, and they might have to make a difficult decision or a different decision, because it's not a given, is it, that we're going to go out and get Elliot Anderson or Adam Wharton or anyone. We might end up losing Casemiro and selling your guy and being short of midfielders, so we'll have to wait and see. Yeah,
well, speaking of midfielders, someone who's going to be staying at United is Jack Morehouse. Okay. So he's been on loan at Leyton Orient in the first half of the season, and it sounded like he was going to go out on another loan for the remainder of the season, but that's not materialised, and he's come straight back into first team training, and it looks like he might be the option for the rest of the season to be involved, which is interesting to me because he's not necessarily a player that could play in that double pivot. He's more of an advanced kind of ball carrying midfielder. He had a good start at Leyton Orient, but it didn't quite click for him, and he struggled for minutes a little bit. I don't think it was a perfect kind of match in terms of his style of play, because I think they struggled to dominate the ball, and he's someone who thrives in a team who can really get the ball to him and let him push the team forward. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting one with him coming into the immediate options in the first team, and we'll see what he can do.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing a little bit more of Jack Morehouse. Probably a few months ago, maybe a year ago, a lot of people raving about him, thought there might be something happening there in terms of him in the first team. I mean, not saying it won't ever happen, but I had, like you said, difficult spell there down in Leyton Orient, but we'll see. One player I want to ask you about quickly, Radek Vitek, Bristol City.
Yep.
What's happening with him?
Yep, so he's going to continue on his loan for the remainder of the season. He's maybe the standout loanee from this first half of the season, someone who I'm a really, really big fan of. He's done amazingly well in the Championship, which again, like we've mentioned earlier, is such a tough league.
Goalkeeper.
Very young goalkeeper. He's just 22, which he's a baby when it comes to goalkeepers. He's kept 9 clean sheets in 25 appearances, which is very a fantastic rate. Puts him joint most clean sheets in the league out of any goalkeeper. And I really think that despite how brilliantly Lemens is doing for us, I think there could be a case where he comes in and provides a real challenge. So I hope that's how it plays out. I hope that he's brought into the first team and them two are able to battle it out, because between the two of them, two young, really, really high potential goalkeepers, I think United have at least one nailed on number one out of the two of them.
To be fair, if he's doing well in the Championship, I want to see him back in the squad next season at United.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether he's challenging Senna Lemens or not, as a backup. Because I honestly don't think you can rely on Ali Biancheri at all. I just don't. And I don't be harsh on Biancheri. Everyone knows my thoughts on him. Actually, damn him with faint praise. I think he's a nice guy, but I just don't think he's good enough. Tom Eaton is obviously, he's third choice for a reason. He's almost my age. So I think someone like Radek Vitek, who's done very well in the Championship, who's a young player, who's probably got aspirations and desire to try and get into that first team as well. Well, Ali Biancheri knows he's never getting in the first team again unless Lemens is injured. That's a positive. But even if he doesn't get in the first team, just to be on the bench is an option here, and a pretty good one. Yeah. If you want to rotate, plus next season, hopefully we won't just have 40 games next season. We'll have at least 42. No, we'll have at least, if we got European football and we do a little bit better in the cups. So there might be options there, or games where you can go, actually, let's give some of the resis a go. So yeah, I'd like to see Radek Vitek back in the squad next season. I really would.
Definitely, that'll be an interesting storyline. Finally, we'll talk about 2 permanent departures from the club. Yeah. 2 FA Youth Cup winners for Manchester United in 2022. Sam Mather and Reece Bennett, both departing from the club on permanent deals. Sam Mather is 21 years old. The pathway didn't kind of materialise for him, but always been a top player. He was vital to United's FA Youth Cup win.
Scored some good goals, didn't he?
Scored some really good goals and played really well in that whole FA Youth Cup run, and I don't think they would have won it if it weren't for him.
Agree more.
But yeah, looks like he's taken on a new challenge in Turkey at Kayserispor. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. He has struggled at points with injuries, so I think this makes sense for him to go somewhere else and have a real challenge at building a career for himself away from United. And yeah, wish him all the best. And then Reece Bennett as well. He captained that FA Youth Cup winning side. He's joining Fleetwood on a 2.5-year deal for an undisclosed fee. He's been at United for 16 years. Mather's been at United for 14 years. These are players who have a real history at the club and definitely will be wished all the very best heading away and looking for new challenges.
100%. Obviously, Reece Bennett, I think, went through a tragedy as well, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. He lost his father, around Christmas time, which was just so tragic to hear. So I know he's got a lot of love and support from within the club, and certainly wish him all the best in the future because he's a great character.
No, he is, and he's a credit to himself and his family. And Sam Mather, like you said, we've got an FA Youth Cup because of him. He's a big part of that, not just because of him, obviously, but scored so many important goals along the way and played so well. So good luck to both those young lads. I genuinely wish them well, as I'm sure everyone at United does, because they, played a big part in that FA Youth Cup win, which is a big part of what United are about.
I think you become a permanent part of United's history if you win an FA Youth Cup.
I couldn't agree more. Honestly, that's more important than being in a squad that wins nought.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And not really playing. If you're playing in a FA Youth Cup team that wins it, we all remember those teams. We all talk about them all the time because it's what United are about. So big thank you for that, Finn. Always a pleasure chatting to you.
Absolutely.
Another one where you've cheered us up even more. You've not had to cheer us up from the doldrums. You've just added to our happiness, because everything at Manchester United at the minute is wonderful, and we don't often say that. Make sure you check out Finn, AcademyScoop, on all your socials. You're going to see a lot more of him on the channel as well. He's been doing podcasts. You did the Paddock podcast?
Yeah, been doing a bit here and a bit there.
Stepping up, especially when me and Joe are off on our travels. Yep. So make sure you follow him on your socials. Go and check out link in the description for the merchandise as well. We've got a load of Paddock merch there. Big thank you to everyone who's bought that. That's been Finn. I'm Jay. This has been Academy Review. Thanks for watching.